The debate surrounding bloggers and journalists is back in the spotlight after a U.S. court ruled that an Oregon blogger was not protected under the state's Media Shield law. Crystal Cox, who runs multiple blogs on legal and financial matters, was sued by the Obsidian Finance Group earlier this year on claims of defamation. Although Cox had written several posts about the investment firm, one particular post accused the firm's co-founder, Kevin Patrick, of fraud, dishonesty with shareholders, and abuse of his position as the company's Chapter 11 trustee. Cox, who defended herself in court, argued that the post was factual based on information she received from an inside source. The court, however, was not convinced of her defense since she is not employed by an official media establishment, and as a result it ordered her to pay $2.5 million in damages to Obsidian Finance. And as you can imagine, this news has caused quite a stir in the online community due to the many issues it raises. And to talk more about these concerns and to hear the saga in her own words, we're going to bring in Crystal Cox at this time. Thanks so much for joining us, Crystal.
Hi, thank you very much.
You're very welcome. Before we get into the current events, just tell us about your background in blogging. How long have you been doing it?
About 7 years.
Okay, and what got you started in the legal and financial blogging space, and specifically the Obsidian Finance Group?
I am a real estate broker owner. I've owned my own real estate company for 11 years, and my real estate industry whistleblower stuff is what led me to this because it was a 1031 exchange company, and that affects all real estate agents.
So basically, based on your own experiences with witnessing fraud and corporate dishonesty, you feel the need to expose this to others then, basically, and warn them, right?
Yes.
Okay. Well, let's get into the Obsidian case specifically. Can you tell us what happened?
Well, it's a very long story. There's 3 years worth of it. But basically, you know, the trustee originally worked for the company that went bankrupt. He was under contract to help them reorganize their company. He ended up, and he took $100,000 signed contract, and then he kind of bailed on his clients, and then he worked as a trustee on the opposite side. And in that, I think he's legally an insider and had no right to. Then he seized all of the properties, and he had no accountability for the multi-millions of dollars he was charging. There was a legal proceeding that was filed, which was an objection to the fees. And this was filed by quite a few of the people inside of the bankruptcy. And this was very important because all bankruptcies that I now write about have this same process where the trustee has no accountability, the FBI, nobody, the Department of Justice, nobody's really looking at his actions. Instead, they're looking at the company that went bankrupt. And that's kind of it in a nutshell.
Wow. So you were shocked then by the way that the court ruled last week?
Yes, definitely. And the fact that I wasn't media when I brought over 500 pages of source documents to prove that I did not have actual malice. And they never asked me to retract the post, and they said retraction laws do not apply to me because I'm a blogger and not a journalist.
So you do consider yourself a journalist then?
Yes, I do.
Okay, and do you think that all bloggers should be considered journalists?
No, but I have taken, depositions. I've interviewed people. I have over 400 sites. I've researched this case. I've watched videos of inside meetings. I mean, I'm not just any blogger on it, and I don't have one blog, and, this is what I do all day, every day, have for years.
Right. This case has actually brought journalism to the center of the entire debate, and basically how it is defined. So how do you define journalism?
Well, I think journalism is not necessarily about getting both sides, calling two people and getting a double dose of hearsay. I think it's about digging in documents, reading depositions, reading court cases, watching videos, really doing deep investigation. Like the New York Times and Forbes and all of these folks, they're focusing on my private emails, and they're focusing on trying to discredit me instead of investigating the bankruptcy courts, investigating the story. They don't really read the depositions or read into the story. They just call me. I say I didn't do it. They call him. He says I did, and then they post all of that. You know what I mean?
Right, right.
Real journalists should actually investigate it and be willing to read it and be passionate about the story. You know what I mean?
Right, absolutely, I agree. Is it accurately then defined in the Shield law?
It isn't, and there needs to be a federal Shield law because also, I published this out of Boulder, Colorado. I'm a resident of Montana. The company does business in several states. The victims were in several states. He was a federal appointed trustee. He answered the Department of Justice, so it shouldn't have been just Oregon courts that applied, and he definitely should have been a public figure.
Right. Well, how do you think that this case will impact digital media then going forward?
Well, it sounds to me like, from what I'm hearing from First Amendment experts, that if I appeal it and it gets overturned, that the case just kind of goes away and it doesn't help anybody. But if I don't appeal, that they use it and that they lobby for federal laws, maybe even international laws, to protect all bloggers and citizen journalists.
Okay, so what are your plans with how to go forward with this?
I haven't decided. I have about 3 more weeks left, and I'm just trying to talk to all the experts and do what's best for all bloggers and all citizen journalists.
Right, well, you have received a lot of support as a result of this case, so what does this response mean to you?
Well, what the issue to me is all the stories I write about, the victims that I give voice to that are in the dark. They had no voice but me. I'm on top of the search engines for the judges, corrupt cops, everybody involved, and giving them a voice is what it means to me, and that's what I'm going to continue doing.
Okay, and one of the things that some people have said is that they recommend that you get a lawyer or reach out to a consumer group or something. Is this advice that you plan on taking? Are you still weighing out the options on this regard as well?
I am, but EFF contacted me, the Electronic Frontier folks, and then they backed off, and for some reason. And I have another attorney that's contacted to represent me, and he's talking about opening up the old trial, and everybody's examining things, but basically I've also the first people in the First Amendment bar, and I think that the most consensus is that the people that are in the know and how the law works want me to stand down for the greater good. So I don't know sure what to do, but yes, if I do appeal, I will appeal with an attorney.
Okay, and what would be your ideal outcome in this case?
For all bloggers to have rights as journalists if they do what journalists do. I want all blogs to be protected. I'm not saying they should go out and defame people or get the information wrong, but if the courts would have let in my information, I had over 500 documents to prove that I didn't know. I didn't have actual malice. Why not give bloggers the same respect to send them a link and say, take this down and here's the reason why? They didn't even give me that respect. So I want bloggers to be treated more like journalists, with the basic equal rights.
Right. Okay, Crystal, we'll see what happens. Thank you so much for talking with us, and best of luck with the case.
Thank you very much. Have a great day.
You're very welcome. And we will continue to keep you posted on the very latest developments in this story. Reporting for WebPro News, I'm Abby Johnson.